It is All Things Considered and member-supported Hawaii Public Radio HPR1. I'm Dave Lawrence, and we have a little Friday surprise for you today. Tonight and tomorrow at the Max McCoy Studio Theater, they've got a show they are calling Generations, which we're going to learn a little more about. This one is based around Maui resident and Doobie brother Patrick Simmons Sr. has been our guest previously on the show a few times. He's teaming up with a fellow musician, his son, Patrick Simmons Jr., and the two guitarists, singer-songwriters perform 7:30 shows each night, I understand. And lucky for us, they're going to join us right now. Aloha, Patrick and Patrick. Good to have you guys here.
Aloha, Dave.
Hey, aloha.
Great to have both of you here, and thank you for doing this. I guess we'll call you guys senior and junior so we can keep you separated when we do this. And we'll start with Dad, I guess.
How depressing, man.
I know, right? Well, maybe I'll have to find another way. I hear you. No one wants to be called a senior. But Dad, how about you tell us what's in store for these remarkable shows? It's a real family kind of thing. I guess it's nice around the holidays, and there's going to be some special guests.
That's right. Well, let's see. Start at the beginning. Art Vento, who is the manager over there at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center, came up with this idea. He wanted to try something with, well, not that it hasn't, this hasn't been done before with other local musicians, but he kind of wanted to. I think he kind of wants to have a series with, fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, that kind of thing, who are, performers, musicians. And so I said, forget it, because I don't have an act. I play with the band, but I haven't been, performing on, much on my own. So I went and I practiced a bunch of songs and got some songs together, and then my son actually does have an act, and so he was kind enough to let me, intrude on his space, and we put the show together, which is kind of half and half his songs, half my songs. We do a few covers, but it's mostly original material, and we're just going to have fun. We are being joined by some local folks, Hutch Hutchinson, who is Bonnie Raitt's bass player. Hutch has been living here in Maui for a number of years.
Yeah, long time.
We actually have played a lot together here.
Yep. And
other places. But so we got Hutch on bass. We have Marty Farah on drums, who's kind of a newer transplant here. He's been here about 3 years, I guess. But nice to have a great drummer on the island here that has consented to do this with us. And I reached out and asked our guitar player from the Doobie Brothers, John McPhee, to come over. John plays a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Guitar, pedal steel, fiddle, harmonica. He's going to do it all. We needed a utility guy, and John actually did a bunch of stuff on Pat's CD that he released a couple years ago. So it's going to be a kind of interesting show. And we have some surprise guests, too. I don't know if Dave Mason, that big surprise, but
wow!
Spoiler: Dave's going to come by and play a few.
That's
songs
cool, man.
Well, so that's kind of cool.
Look at that! What an arsenal of stuff. And that record that you're talking about from Patrick Jr. is This Mountain, right? Is that the one that?
That's the one.
That's the one. And so Pat Jr., with a pop like yours, and he's running through all that stuff. He's got all these guests, and who knows, some of the other surprises you never know with his Rolodex of contacts. Share some of your earliest musical memories. I've actually seen you play with your pop. It was at Casanova in Makawao back in 2007. You were doing a benefit for the Mana'o radio station.
Along with growing up here locally on Maui, I was also raised on tour with the Doobies and pretty much been to, I would say maybe hundreds of shows by the time I was like 5 years old, and we've had quite a life touring with these guys. And now that I'm playing my own shows, I have gotten a chance to play with my dad more and more over the years, just he and I. So it's been quite a fun experience getting to kind of have him step away from the Doobies a bit and have us do our own thing together.
When you talk about those early memories, not a lot of people get that. I mean, sometimes people are privileged to grow up in a world like that, and I don't know if privilege is the right word because it's a different kind of life. But when you think back to being a little kid, sleeping on like road crates and stuff like that, what are some of your earliest memories, though, of when you decided to actually embark on playing an instrument yourself?
Yeah, I actually have a clear memory. When I was about 7 years old, my dad taught my older brother and I the 12-bar blues here on Maui. And I remember that really clearly. And after that, I kind of just played around with it and didn't really start to, work up songs and write and actually perform until I was about 12 years old. I was in a band with Lucas Nelson. He and I played in a garage band together. And that was some of my earliest performing memories, with actually playing my own songs that I had written. And, in front of an audience and taking the time to rehearse and, work up parts as a band. We had a little 4-piece band together in Maui with Lucas and Mike and Nelson. And that's kind of one of my earliest performing memories.
I will jump in here and say one of the great things about living here in Hawaii is how music is such a part of the culture, and I know Pat would want me to bring this up because he has said it several times. When he started school here, a public school here in Maui at a haiku school, he went to haiku school. There was a fabulous music program in terms of local Hawaiian people coming in and kind of sharing the culture and the music with the students. And I'll let you go, Pat.
Yeah. Well, ukulele was one of my first string instruments. And when I was like 6 years old in second grade at haiku school, they taught us these Hawaiian standards and traditional songs, and we would perform them at our little May Day festivals and stuff like that. And that really got me playing rhythm.
Give it up for Makua Bailey, who is the...
For sure, yeah. I mean, this is like one of my earliest, song learning memories is from this auntie Makua Bailey who would come in, and I was in second grade, and I was this little Holly kid, and she would come and teach us Hawaiian songs, and, Hawaii Aloha, and all these different, standards, and that was one of my earliest memories.
I was an old Howley kid, and I used to sit there and listen as well. It was, just such a great experience, and that's really one of the big blessings to me of living here in Hawaii, and that sharing of that musical culture is so important.
And that's a great thing that you gave to your child, because not a lot of people not only did he get the experience of growing up with that road background and the intense backstage exposure to the music, but to grow up in a nurturing place like Hawaii, and the way that you described all of those different elements that have factored into your development. That makes a lot of sense and give you a lot of appreciation for the local culture here. And that's just, like I said, not a lot of kids get to grow up here. So your pop obviously did you a solid in a couple ways with that indoctrination, if you will, into both Hawaii and music. Pat Sr., or let's just say Big Pat, we'll say that. That sounds like. By comparison, when I read in your background, your pop was a high school educator. So thinking about this father-son thing that you guys have going on, thinking about yours, what are some influences either from your pop that have factored into your life, or similarly your own indoctrination to music?
My father actually did play the guitar, although I didn't find it out till after I had started playing. And one day he goes, "Hey, I know a few chords too," and he showed me. He actually knew a little bit of guitar. My music really came from my peers, my kids around me who were musicians, and their families, living in a neighborhood, growing up in a suburban neighborhood. We used to have these block parties with, local people all getting together in the backyard and pulling out their instruments and playing. The guy next door was a kind of an operatic guy, but he knew all these great Italian folk songs, and we learned to play that stuff, and then my friends' parents had a country band. The guy that actually first taught me to play the guitar, I went over to his house, and there was a guitar sitting in his bedroom, and I I went. I had never really seen one in person before. I'd seen them on television, but Elvis played the guitar, Ricky Nelson played the guitar, and Chuck Berry. I'd seen those guys pictures and on television, and I flipped when I saw the guitar. And as soon as I picked it up, that was it. Forever. I was 8 years old, and forever I've been a guitar player since then. Changed my life.
Oh, and it's a beautiful thing to share with your son too.
Yeah, it really, it's something that it's either you either feel it or you don't. It's not like something you can really force somebody to understand.
That's right.
You have to have it for themselves. But I was really drawn to it. I think Pat has been drawn to it. Both my other kids, they love music and they both play. My son plays the keyboards, and my daughter was a pretty good piano player and a flute player. But they were not as drawn to it as I was or as Pat is. So it's something that it's unexplainable, but it just comes out and grabs you somehow.
Well, with the special nature of this show, would you guys ever think of doing something like that? I mean, in a time when you're not doing the Doobies or something like Pat Jr., would you like to go on the mainland, let's say, and do a thing like that with your dad, where you guys did like a duo bit, sort of like a storyteller's broken down acoustic kind of show?
I would love that. I mean, we've just in the short times that we've rehearsed and put songs together, I think there's more room for us to grow in that way, and we could always, we've also kind of started just sharing little like songs that we don't have words to yet, and I'm sure we'll eventually write a few songs together. And what about you, Dad? What do you think? Would you be stoked to take this on the road?
Well, I have to think after all the work we've done, we better go out there and do some other shows. I mean, that's probably a given.
At least around the state.
I know, Pat has some guys on the mainland that he's been playing with, a bass player and a drummer. So, he's probably going to be spending a little more time over there doing shows. He's already done a number of shows just recently, really. He booked some shows and went over and played around Thanksgiving, and really was well received. And I had never heard him play with these two guys before. The bass player I kind of heard him a little bit with, but now he has this drummer that he's been playing with, and it's taking it to another level. So, and I actually did sit in with him, so that was kind of cool as well. So we'll see. I have to think we'll probably end up. We'll end up doing more shows. But like Pat said, it'd be nice to have some original material, maybe that we composed together. I think that would be really special.
Oh, totally. You know what else would be cool for both of you? Take that as an opener for the Doobies. A lot of work for you if you're doing the double thing. But I remember when Warren Haynes was doing stuff where it would be like him before the ABB, and then he'd be sitting in with the brothers. Those were interesting times. A little different than this, but
Pat has done that a number of times, actually.
Open for you guys
through the years. Yeah, not that long ago, actually.
We worked up some on my tunes, and did a couple covers, and had the treat of doing that. I think the first time I really started doing that, I was like 16. I think in one of our first shows, I think was at the Palmason Winery. Remember in San Jose? There we did. I was like 16 years old, and we worked up a little set together. My dad sat in with me, and I've done that over the years a number of times. And just a couple years ago, I think it was the last tour I did with those guys. And but
the fans really like that. It's just I think it's kind of charming to our audience for sure.
Oh, it's very charming. It's charming for anybody, and it's a good thing to see. It's nice, it's nurturing, and it goes along with the career that you've had. You've always seemed like a really sweet, down-to-earth guy. I still remember you from What's Happening, right, with Busting Rerun, and he was bootlegging you.
Which Doobie you be?
Going after the bootleggers. Your pop was early in that. It's really something else. But I leave you with this final thing. It's not a question, but a thing. As you said, maybe I heard you, Pat Jr. I think Pat Jr. sounds better than Little Pat, actually, huh?
That's what I've been going by.
Big Pat sounds better than Pat Sr., but Pat Jr. sounds good. So we have this 75-seat intimate performance space. It's called the Atherton Performing Arts Studio. It's right built into the station. They do all kinds of shows in there. We've had Taj Mahal in there, Stanley Jordan, Average White Band, Rippingtons, all kinds of different, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, anybody, Ziggy Marley, lots and lots of folks have been in there. But anyway, if you thought about coming over to Honolulu, and maybe if you're fans of the station, we'd love to have you do a benefit in there for us, or if there's some other cause that you're really passionate about. But it would be a great way to expose folks in the Oahu area to this wonderful thing that you're doing.
Oh, that's very nice. We'd love to do that for sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll keep it in mind. And again, it's the two Pats. It's Patrick Simmons times two, senior and junior, and they're playing a remarkable 2-night engagement over at the Max McCoy Studio Theater. It's tonight and tomorrow, 7:30 shows. And it's been a thrill having them as this little treat, a Friday surprise, if you will, on All Things
David.
Considered.
Thanks for what you guys do over there, too. I listen every day.
Me too.
Every day here. So
You listen to All Things Considered, or just when are you tuned in?
all the time. It's always on my dial. Whenever I jump in my car or whenever I'm working on something, I switch you guys on. And
Whenever I drive.
Always listening.
And you guys, either of you hear any of the other artists that are on ATC? Can you name anybody who's been on ATC recently? Any of the guitar players or anything?
No, it's funny. I just got back on island about a week ago, so.
Good excuse. I'm just messing with you, but it's good to have you guys out there.
Let us know, Dave, about doing, coming over there and playing sometime. We'd love to do that.
Well, on that note, I will reach out to you after the holidays get through. I'm rooting for huge success with these two shows, giving you both big hugs, thanking you for your time. Hopefully you'll tune in and catch it. Be about 4:48 tomorrow is what I'm thinking. All right?
I'm writing it down. Good.
Well, God bless. Be safe, okay?
Hey, thanks again, Dave. You take care.
Really appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
You're welcome, brothers.
Mahalo.
Be safe.
Aloha, it's Patrick Simmons Sr.
And I'm Pat Simmons Jr.
You may know me from the Doobie Brothers and my son, who works around Maui and is in brand new CD.
You can also count us both as fans of Hawaii Public Radio.
And this show, All Things Considered, with Dave Lawrence.
Please make a pledge and become a member now.
And here's how. Thanks for giving HPR a helping hand.